2024 is coming to an end, and this year has been particularly challenging for a lot of online entrepreneurs in the info space. Despite all of the challenges, we have been able to do over 2 million in sales this year. And I want to be completely transparent with you. This has required an astronomical amount of work and energy. And so over the past few weeks, I've witnessed conversations online around digital burnout, people feeling really tired, not knowing how they can move forward in their business. And one thing that I've always been very good at is to make my own fuel and knowing how to energize myself when my energy levels are low. So I thought that it would be helpful for a lot of you if I record a video and give you the 7 steps that you can start taking today to learn to manage your energy better. And basically, whenever you need it, tap into that source from within. All right, so now without further ado, let me get to the 7 steps. So the first step is to start labeling yourself, right? And everybody tells you to not do that, but we can use that in a very, very positive way. So I started to do this for myself really early. One of the first books that I read about entrepreneurship was the marshmallow test. This test shows how children that are able to delay gratification will do better later on in life. And it makes good, compelling argument for why the skill to delay gratification will lead to success. And I was so impressed with that book and that I started to label myself and said, I am someone who can delay gratification for a really long time, right? So I am someone who can delay gratification for much longer than most people. In fact, I am somebody who can delay gratification the longest, right? And so by keep telling myself these labels about myself, I actually have been able to make it a part of my identity. And so now opting for instant gratification is actually something that collides with my identity and with my values. So for me at this point, it's really, really easy to say, well, I play the long game because I know how to delay gratification. And it has become true over time because I kept reinforcing the label and being proud of myself when I was able to delay gratification. Now, another label that always has served me really well is the label, I am somebody who loves to work. I truly believe this about myself. I absolutely love to work because I also cultivated the belief that work is good for me. Every piece of work that I do works on me and leaves me better than it found me. If I'm pouring everything into the work, it will leave me better than it found me. A recent example of this is that today I was on a test recording for a podcast where I will likely be a permanent guest, which is a big opportunity for me and a big honor for me. And I would have not been able to be a part of this if I would have not sharpened my skill set of talking to the camera. I am by far not the best presenter in the world, and I know that. But if you're checking out videos from me in the beginning of my journey, you can see that I have definitely made huge improvements over time. And it is because of all the live Q&As I did, all of the video feedbacks I did, all of the videos that I attempted to create, eventually published, although they were not perfect. All of this work worked on me and it turned me into a person that is capable and well positioned to take opportunities that are in front of her. When I'm now looking at a big mountain of work in front of me, I'm like, yeah, give it to me, because I know that after I worked through the mountain, I am a better person. I am a more capable, more resilient, more competent, more experienced human being. So I love to take this in. I love to consume it. I'm looking forward to exposing myself. So I'm somebody who loves to work. Work is good for me. A few more affirmations that I want to give you, a few more beliefs that I hold close about myself that also energize me a lot are, I am always grateful. So we'll talk about this in a second when I talk about taking an energy inventory. But gratification has offered me so much energy. I always say I get to do things, and that has really, really allowed me to tap into energy from within. Another one thing is that I make everything happen for me, right? So whenever something happens where I feel like, oh, this is unpleasant or this didn't go as I wanted it to go, I make it happen for me. A recent example, my last YouTube video that I recorded, I had a cold sore here. And I've been dealing with cold sores for all my life. And I've always been really, really embarrassed of them and I felt ashamed showing them. I recently was at a one-day event in Las Vegas where we had access to Alex Ramosi because one of my former students, now really close friends, Laura Bull, won in the school games and I referred her, so I was able to get there as a guest. And my worst nightmare came true on the flight when I was really underslept and it was cold on the plane and I got a huge cold sore. And I was so embarrassed stepping in front of all of my peers, having pictures taken, being on video with the cold sore. Well, I said, how can I make this happen for me? And I realized that now that the mask fell off, right? So now everybody saw me like that. I actually gained something. I gained the freedom to now not let it hold me back anymore. Now when I have a cold sore, I can still make that YouTube video. I can still do the live call. I can still go through that lounge because I'm now not bothered by it anymore. So I made it happen for me, and I even took it a step further and I addressed it in the email where I sent people to the YouTube video, and I let them know, look, this is what happened and I'm embracing it. And the amount of love and positive feedback that I got for that was beautiful, right? So it was people giving me tips, it was people showing kindness and empathy, and it was people thanking me for, giving them a permission slip to show up as they are. So whenever something happens to me, I try to find a way to make it happen for me. And it's based on this label, on this belief, I make everything happen for me. Now, the last one that I want to give you is, I always tell myself I get to do this. Whenever I have something in my business where I'm like feeling reluctant or resistance to do it, I tell myself I get to do this, right? So for example, now I just opened up my video feedback form again after a week of celebrations for my sister-in-law's wedding. I had put it on pause, I had let everyone know, and now it's opening up again and the video feedback requests are coming in, right? So the first, and I think normal reaction is, oh my goodness, this is so much work. I immediately discipline myself in my mindset and I say, I get to do this. How beautiful is it that there are people that have been waiting for you to be available to answer their questions. I get to tell people my opinion. They appreciate my perspective so much that they're eagerly waiting for this form to open up to submit a request for feedback. How beautiful is that I get to do this? Who can even do things like that, right? And so this is now that I'm further in the journey, but even if you're in the beginning of your journey, think of all the people that never take the leap to take action and say, I'm blessed because I am somebody who is doing something for their dream. I get to do this. There's something within me that's already setting me apart from all the other people that are just daydreaming about it. I get to do this. I can take action towards my dream. How beautiful is that? I can create, right? So always think about, I get to do this. The second step is think about what you're thinking about when your effort is low. I once heard this quote in a motivational speech on YouTube and it never left my heart. Think about what you're thinking about when your effort is low. You probably are thinking about the obstacle, not the opportunity. So I made it a point and habit to always visualize the best case scenario. So for example, when I was competing in the school games in February, that's a long, big lift, right? It's a month where you're basically pouring all your energy and attention into trying to win in the games. We eventually came second, Jessa Bellman and I, with $81,000 monthly recurring revenue, new monthly recurring revenue generated on the platform. And the way I was sourcing energy throughout this was I was visualizing myself to win. I was like, can you imagine? In the beginning, I just was visualizing myself being on the leaderboard, right? So I didn't even expect that we would go up so far because it was also the first game ever, and I didn't know what to expect. But I was keep visualizing, can you imagine if I can be up there? So I was really trying to tap into that, into the excitement and joy that would come up. And then I used that energy that I was sourcing to get work done, right? So always visualize what's the best case scenario that can happen, right? And then also detach from it, right? So I purely use this visualization to source energy, but I also am not attached to the outcome, right? The outcome is the outcome. And we'll talk about that in a second. And then another thing that you can do is to visualize yourself doing the work. So for example, now you've already had it shine through the lines, but I'm just going to explicitly say it. One of the tasks that I dread a little bit in my business is doing the video feedbacks, right? So where somebody submits a video and the resources and I have to review them. Again, I get to review them. At the same time, because I have a little bit of a rebellious nature, I noticed about myself, whenever I have to do something at a specific timeline, I get so resistant to do it. I'm not sure why this is, but when I visualize myself doing the feedback and being like really efficient with it and pausing and adding the comments, when I think about that for 5 minutes, it actually helps me to then get into it and get to do it. I do the same for recording these YouTube videos. They're still challenging for me to do, but I envision myself sitting here talking, and then eventually it gets edited and it gets up and I send it out and it's going to be beautiful. So I visualize myself going through this, and through that, it makes it easier for me to execute. It gives me the energy to execute. So work with visualizations. And whenever you're in a low effort state, think about what you're thinking about when the effort is low. Leave those thoughts on the side and now think about the outcome. think about the best case scenario, think about you doing the work, right? Visualize yourself really. And that is a huge, huge source of energy for me. Third is change what you celebrate. So you would want to be proud of yourself for keeping the promises that you made to yourself and others, not for the outcomes, right? So I am proud of myself if I have recorded this video and got it over to my editor, Benjamin, right? Then I have done my job and I'm really, really proud of myself, no matter how many views it gets, right? So you would want to start celebrating that you keep the promises that you made to yourself and others. That's what you want to be most proud of. For yourself, the outcome is nice to have, right? But you would want to operate from a place of outcome independence, and you would want to value that you were able to keep the word that you gave to yourself and to others. Also value taking action you can do right now over the outcome. So, for example, when you're in that low effort, really tired, really frustrated state, think of what is the smallest task I can do with the energy at hand right now. So, for example, yesterday evening, I was already really, really tired after, all the celebratory things, and I started to catch up, and it was a mountain of work in front of me. And then it was the evening, and there were still like many questions and things left that I could have gotten into. But my brain was just toast, and I started listening to the videos. I couldn't capture anymore what people were saying, right? So what did I do? I said, okay, what is the minimum amount of work that I can do right now where I would still get a good outcome? And so I tuned into a program that I recently bought because, I also always aim for professional development, which is the Compliance Academy by Anik Singhal, and his lawyer is called Greg. So it's about learning to be really compliant in your marketing. So what I did was I was like, okay, the least thing I can do right now is listen through the course, right? So I cuddled up on the couch, wrapped myself in a blanket. I was listening to the course. Through, being able to listen to the course, eventually, and an energy low is always just for a certain amount of time. Eventually, I started to feel a little bit more energized, and I was proud of myself for at least going through the course, that I eventually took the certification at the end, right? And so I was just laying there and clicking through and kind of testing my knowledge. And at the end, I got that certification done, right? That's a big chunk that I wanted to get done in my business. And it started by doing the smallest action I could do with the little brain capacity I had left on that day. So always look for something you can do. Now, the important thing is that we don't want to confuse consumption with getting things done. So for me, I was consuming that course because this is a particular skill set that I want to add to my skill stack. Consuming entrepreneurial content on YouTube, where it is always helpful, right, to know that, but it does not add to particular skills that you want to acquire right now, can actually just add to the overwhelm and distraction and feeling behind. So I actually try to avoid consuming content when I'm in those low energy stages. But if it's something where I'm like, okay, I've committed to learning this because acquiring this skill is relevant to get my outcome right now, it's different, and you want to know the difference. All right, the next step 4, is creating an energy inventory. If you are not sure, if you don't know about yourself, what energizes and what drains you, I highly recommend doing this exercise for at least a week. So for at least a week, take an energy inventory, as in when are you particularly energized and when do you feel particularly drained, and try to understand what led to that state of energy. Okay, so I want to give you a few specific examples. Gratitude. I get to do this. This will make me better. Telling myself that I did a good job. So this is a little bit ridiculous, but I'm just going to tell you because it works so well on myself. I literally talk to myself like a dog sometimes. Like, I'm like, oh, you did that so well. Look at you. You watched the video. Now you have the certification, right? Oh, wow. You did manage to write the email, although you were really tired. I'm so proud of you. Look what you did there, right? So and I know it sounds so silly, but when I start to hype myself up like that, like give myself kind praise like that, it actually gives me a ton of energy, and it helps me to take things less seriously and to really honestly feel just good about myself. And when I feel good about myself, that's what I notice about myself. It gives me a ton of energy. It allows me to keep going because it rewards me. Another thing that really energizes me is to listen to motivational speeches on YouTube, like the one where I found a quote that I just shared with you. And sometimes these can be for football teams, right? Or for sport teams, but those really, really energize me. Then there's also certain songs that I really love that energize me, like the song Levels by Avicii. I really love to listen to it, and it just, gets me going. And another thing that I do that really energizes me is to do push-ups and pull-ups and squats in between work. Somehow it kind of resets the clarity. And it also I guess for me, what really energizes me is if I'm reaffirming to myself, I'm doing well, I'm doing a good job, I'm doing the right thing, right? So it's kind of keystone habits that kick me back into a positive mindset and into productivity. Now, things that drain me. So for example, what really drains me is when I have to hold boundaries with people. Another thing that really drains me is overstimulation. So when I have messages and requests coming into multiple channels, that really drains me, and makes me want to just wrap up into a donut like an ostrich, put my head away. That makes me really, really, really drained. Another one is when I feel like I have messed up something. So, I get those requests for video feedbacks, but I also get posts in my mastermind. I also get messages and I also get emails. So when I feel like, or when I notice, oh, there was something I should have done, just because of the sheer amount of overwhelm, I forgot about it, or I'm running late on something, that actually robs me of so much energy, and I start to paralyze. I'm like, oh, I'm a bad person. I did that wrong. I hate myself. How could this happen to me? How could I have done this wrong? And when I then start to beat myself up, all energy is basically gone, right? I really kind of start to go into freeze mode for that. Once you know about yourself, because you've taken the energy inventory, you can work on those challenges specifically. So here are a few things that I do. First thing is, see if you can delegate or eliminate what drains you. I have reset the way that I serve people multiple times because I noticed that some setups just don't work for me, right? So I eliminated certain things and replaced them with others, or I gotten help with some of the tasks in my business. So for example, one thing is managing comments under my Facebook ads. Facebook ads, because of the nature of Facebook ads, the comment section can be extremely mean. I actually like to encourage my customers to leave an honest feedback about the product under my ads. That kind of prevents a little bit of the negativity, right? So if I have actual, real, honest customer voices under the ads, it repels some of the pure meanness that you get into in the comment sections. But I also notice about myself, when I am managing my own comments under my Facebook ads, my anxiety levels are just through the roof. And it's people that never bought something from you, that don't know you, that post like a dog pooping and they say, you pooped on my timeline, just trolling stuff. But for some reason, it really gets to me. So I know that this is something I shouldn't be doing, but it's something I cannot delete or erase. So I need to delegate it. And now I have Nikki from my team actually managing those comments for me. And she developed a good system for herself with AI, etc. And also because it's not, she's not feeling so personally attached to this. For her, it's easier than for me. And so that's off my plate. If you can't delegate or eliminate or change things, you would want to eat your frog ASAP. So there's this book, I think it's from Brian Tracy, where it says, eat your frog. And so it's basically about immediately doing the things that are the hardest for you. And so an example of how I do this is that I actually prioritize doing the video feedback. And when I do it, I track my time, and I'm not allowing myself, after I did one, to do something else. I immediately restart the timer and I go into the next video feedback until I have it done, right? So I'm eating it right away. So it frees up mental capacity to do other things. The same with setting boundaries. So I used to procrastinate so much on this, and this has cost me so much energy and probably months, if not years of my life, because I was so afraid to set boundaries. When I was interviewing Leila Homosi for my podcast, she actually gave me this huge aha moment where I had consumed courses, journaled about this, read books about boundary setting, and it still felt like I suck at this. I just can't. I didn't understand that it's just small skills that I lack. And so she told me, you probably just have to find a way to say no that doesn't feel uncomfortable or mean to you. So I tried this, and now whenever I see a boundary is crossed, I'm like, how can I make this person aware, right? How can I say no in a way that doesn't feel mean or anything for me? So I now actually literally go to ChatGPT and I'm like, this happened. It feels like overstepping my boundaries. Can we talk about it? And then it will explain to me, why does it feel this way? So I first gather an understanding, like, okay, why is this triggering me? And then I'm like, okay, I actually want to set the boundary, but I don't want to be an, a-hole about it. I want to be kind about it. How can I respond to this? And then it will give me a few suggestions, and I will tweak it and make it work. And then I just immediately get it out of the way, so it doesn't keep chipping away from my mental capacity, and it doesn't keep draining my energy. So when you have identified through the energy inventory what your energy thieves are, tackle them. Eliminate delegate or eat the frog right away. And when you don't know how to eat the frog, one opportunity can really be to go to ChatGPT and say, I need to do this for my business. I find this particularly hard. What skill might I be missing? How can I approach this in a way that I actually can get this done, right? And sometimes the way for you to get it done can just be to make peace with, this is a part of what I do. So for example, again, video feedback. Video feedback is a part of what I do. And eventually, I could delete it and I could remove it. But here's the thing. I actually need video feedback for my personal development because I need to have that practice of doing something I don't like, but that is good for me and that is good for others. In those video feedbacks, I have found so much market insight. I have been able to unlock so many wins for my members. I found methodologies in there. I found trainings in there. I found self-liquidating offer ideas in there, workshop ideas in there. So it truly is enriching me. It makes me a better person. And so for me, a part of doing this is just embracing that I don't want to do it, but it's really, really good for me and I can do hard things. All right. Step number 5 is to manage yourself and prioritize daily, right? So managing yourself, I just hinted at that. Now, let me quickly tell you about prioritizing daily. So for the first years of my business, I actually used every single day this daily self-management worksheet. So I added this section on top actually a little bit later for my members, where it was like, okay, my 90-day goals is, my monthly goals are, my weekly goals are. If you are not setting goals for yourself, this will be a great place to start, right? So a lot of us feel also really drained in their business because they feel like I'm doing so much and eventually it doesn't lead anywhere. Well, if you're not setting goals, if you're not setting a direction, you don't even know where you're headed. Of course, it doesn't feel like progress, right? So if you haven't yet, set a 90-day goal, set a monthly goal, set a weekly goal, and readjust all of them on a weekly basis. Now, remind yourself daily of these goals. And then what I have here is a brain dump section. Write down everything you think you need to do. This is just also to give you back mental capacity. So before you start the day, I did this first thing in the morning before even touching an email or anything. I would write down everything that I thought needs to get done. Once I had this brain dump and my brain was so beautifully empty, right? That already opens up capacity. And with that energy, I prioritized it, right? So this is just Eisenhower matrix. You probably noticed. I said, is it important and is it urgent? I need to get it done today. And I would write it down in the order of eating my frogs. So the one that I least wanted to get done, I actually put at the very top position. And so I try to get it out of the way in the morning first thing. I also actually always called this, I eat my veggies. So when I was a kid, I always loved the meat the most. But my mom always said we have to also eat the veggies as well. So I ate the veggies away and then the meat was my reward. I try to handle it the same with my daily workload. I try to eat my veggies away and then I get the nice meat. Important, urgent, most painful to least painful. You start right there with the most painful. Now, is it not important but urgent? Again, try to delegate or outsource it. Now, if it's not important and not urgent, delete it. So many of you struggle with managing their time and, actually getting things done because you're doing things that don't play into your goals. You're doing random stuff. You're stuck in your business. You don't know what next step to take. So you buy from the next ad off of Instagram, purchase it and start looking into the course. And then like, oh no, I probably don't want to do this. Or maybe I start a faceless short entrepreneurship. Like, no, if it's not on that list, it needs to be ignored. If it is not urgent and if it's not important, don't waste energy and time on it. Now, if it's not urgent, but it's important, it needs to be scheduled. And then on that day, going back to keeping the promises that you made for yourself, you need to do it. First thing in the morning, it's your highest priority. I used to do this for years until it was so second nature that I'm now just naturally holding myself like this and working like this. This is the point in time if you're feeling really tired, if you're feeling really exhausted and like you're not making progress in your business, this is the time where you need to get brutally honest with yourself, right? And I'm not encouraging hustle or anything, but I'm encouraging that you're honest with yourself and you start to track your time and where you're actually spending your time. Very often we have a lot lower net working time as in doing the tasks that actually lead towards our goals than we think. This is an exercise I actually started doing with my members also earlier on, where they were coming to the weekly coaching call. And basically every week I would help them to detangle what is happening. We would make an action plan for the next week, the steps that they need to get done. Next week's call, they come back. I'm like, hey, okay, so this was our action steps. What did you get done? Yeah, I couldn't get this done because this week I was actually working on this. And so every week they would literally walk away with what they needed to do. And they would come back and they would want to talk about something different. And eventually we would all the way spin it back to, these are still the action steps that you need to do. I started to understand that there were underlying things why they were not able to do the action step. Sometimes it was like, I actually am overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. So I needed to break it down even further for them. And sometimes it was also, oh, it actually doesn't align with my values or goals. And very often it was also, I actually don't have clarity on my goals. But what ended up happening was that they kept telling me that they were doing so much. And when I then gave them the task to, for 1 week, completely write down every single little thing that they did, first thing that happened was that they actually came back to me getting some of the tasks done that we had put on the plate for them, right? So by purely just tracking their time, it was actually also creating that accountability. But they were also coming back a little bit humbled, realizing that their net work time on any given day was probably 90 minutes. If you are feeling stuck right now, I'm not saying that you only are working 90 minutes, you probably do more, but it's a really good exercise to start tracking the things that you actually work on. Also because you get an idea for how long it really takes you to do certain things, and because it can prevent you from jumping into a distraction as well. And at the end of the week, you have a really, really clear picture about that. This leads me to the 6th step. When you track your time and the tasks that you work on and how long they take, you actually also start to track your progress, right? So now when you're looking back at the end of the week, you will see how much you accomplished of tasks that actually led towards your goal. And that's beautiful because when our energy is low, it also can be because we're looking in the wrong direction. When I was still working a corporate job, they actually invited me to go on a hike with them. And I was new to the job and I wanted to leave a good impression and get along with everyone. So I was like, yeah, sure, I joined. But I didn't know that this was in Carinthia, a 4-mountain march. So we would go up, we would start at, I think it was midnight, and it was sometime in the night. And we would go for full day over 4 mountains to eventually make it. I made it. I was never this sore in my life, but it was just the stubbornness of not wanting to lose my face in front of everyone that I actually was walking it through. If I knew what was coming, I wouldn't go. And I remember, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd mountain where I was like looking towards the top and I was like, oh, I'm almost there. And when I was at the place where I thought it was the top, it was just a plateau from where I saw now the actual top. And this happened 2 or 3 times where I was like, oh, the top. And then I was at the plateau and I'm like, oh, there's another top, right? And oh, there's another top. And it can really be discouraging when you just keep looking up, when you just keep looking at the tasks ahead of you, and you're feeling like, I will never get there. So it's a really good practice to look the other direction and look down and say, look how far I've already come. And when you start tracking your time and with that your progress, this is actually what you do. You create evidence for you to see how far you already walked, how far you already came. And then you can celebrate yourself and be really, really proud, which again is where you'll find a lot of energy. Last but not least, and this is my favorite hack, is to create a forcing function and an upward spiral for yourself. Because now that you have adjusted your mindset, right, and you have those tools to kick you back into gear, and you have taken an inventory and you're eliminating your energy thieves, and you're actually starting to manage yourself on a daily basis and track your progress, and you have that progress, now you can start to talk about it, right? And it creates, again, a positive enforcement about, this is my identity, this is what I do, I'm somebody who gets stuff done. And it also will nurture your audience towards purchasing what you're working on and wanting to be in proximity and work with the person you're becoming through the progress. And so what I love to use here is to use my 10-minute nurture email prompt to create this reflective routine that you have for yourself, but then you can also carry it on the outside, and it will connect you with and nurture your audience towards the sale. So on a daily basis, you sit down, you use the free version of Loom. There you can record up to 5 minutes. You're looking at, what did I do on this day? And you're reflecting, right? So you talk about everything you did on that day and how it felt and how it's helping you to bring your vision to life and what the vision is, right? So everything you basically just discuss out. What did I do? What's top of mind? And then you use this prompt to transform it into a highly valuable piece for others where they can now benefit from your experience. If you have been working through the day and use the tracking that I recommend, and then you do this every evening, you will be shocked by how much gold and insight and methodology and tools you can find in this and how helpful you will become for yourself and for others. And this really brings it all together because it carries what you're doing internally to the outside, and it reinforces who you become, and it reinforces for yourself also the value of the work that you do. And with that, it energizes you. Remember that entrepreneurship is really a game of keep going, right? Eventually, if you keep going and if you keep trying and if you keep becoming better and doing the work, it might work. So you need to be able to make your own fuel, and there's really nobody else that will come and make it for you. So you have to make it yourself. Use these things wisely and often. If you want to learn more about email, I just recorded a video the other day about this. We're going to link it somewhere here. And other than that, I really hope you found this helpful. I really hope that you're taking these steps and you're going to implement them. Thank you and bye for now.